Page 200. Naughty and Nice. Yes, Nicholas made lots of fantastic friends among the elves, and was something of a role model for little Kip and little Noosh, who now weren't so little, and were called just Kip and Noosh. Why do you think some humans are naughty? Kip asked one day when Nicholas took him and Noosh out for a sleighcraft lesson. They were all together on the sleigh, which now had a comfy seat made by Father Topo. Kip was handsome for an elf, with raven black hair and a dimple in his chin, while Noosh still had a happy wilderness to her. She always reminded Nicholas of a warm fire made into an elf. They were somewhere over Norway, even though it was the middle of the day. It was always safe to fly over Norway, as there were still only 8 people living there. Noosh was holding the reins, staring ahead, as Blitzen and Donner and all the other reindeer powered through the air. Most humans are just a mixture of good things and some bad things, said Nicholas. Like reindeer, said Noosh. I suppose so. But with reindeer, it's easy, said Kip, pulling out a sheet of crumpled paper from his pocket. He handed it to Nicholas. Kip had drawn a line down the middle, and one side put naughty, and on the other nice. Poor Vixen, said Nicholas, seeing she was the only reindeer on the naughty list. Well, she bit Prancer the other day. Did she? But Prancer was on the list last week. Then I told him I'd give him a biscuit if he was good. Nicholas thought about this for a little while, but the thought soon melted away like snow in the sun. Noosh angled the sleigh carefully to avoid an approaching rain cloud. She was the best sleigh rider in Elfham now, no doubt about it. Why don't you give them some magic? The humans, I mean, said Noosh. Ho, ho, Noosh. It's not as easy as that. Come on, we'd better get back to Elfham. Your grandfather will be waiting for you, your parents too, Kip, and these reindeer will be getting hungry. I'm 22 next week, Nicholas told Father Topo. A few minutes after they had landed, they were feeding the reindeer while Noosh and Kip practiced their spickle dance moves. Father Topo looked at Nicholas. He had quite a way to look now, too, because Nicholas was now over 6 feet tall. He was taller than his father had been. Yes, Nicholas was a tall, strong, smiling, handsome human, who, despite the smile, always wore the suggestion of a frown, as though he was permanently confused about something, a mystery he hadn't quite solved. Yes, I know, said Father Topo, as a breeze tickled his white whiskers. Do you think that will be the age I find out who I'm meant to be? Maybe, but you'll know when you find yourself, because then you will stop aging. It took you 99 years, didn't it? Father Topo sighed. Yes, but that's quite unusual. He gave Vixen a biscuit. There you go, you grumpy thing. But don't you think about it. Look at Blitzen. Look at his antlers. They haven't changed in 2 years. He has found his perfect age without even thinking about it. Nicholas looked back toward the main path and the giant clock hanging outside the clockmaker's, and the little spinning top painted onto the sign outside the toy maker's. He saw Min Min at her newspaper stall selling the Daily Snow. Every elf had a purpose. Then he turned back to the field, the reindeer, and the oval lake, less like a mirror today as snowflakes dusted the frozen surface. I need to do something big. Something good. There's no point being leader of the elves unless I lead them somewhere. Well, said Father Topo softly, whatever you decide to do, all of us will be behind you. Everyone loves you. Everyone is the happiest they have been since Mother Ivy's rule a long time ago. Even Father Vodol quite likes you these days. Nicholas laughed out aloud. I can't quite believe that. Oh, yes, said Father Topo. The goodness has won in him, and the goodness is spreading far and wide beyond the village. Have you heard that the pixies don't grow tulip anymore? And there have been no burglaries since Mother Breer had her belt stolen. The tower has been empty for a year now, and the trolls don't bother us anymore. Though I think that's because they know you live here, and the story go out, Father Christmas, troll killer, ha ha. Nicholas nodded and guiltily remembered that day in the tower. You'll find something, and it'll be something good. They look up to you. We all do. And not just because you are twice as tall as us. Nicholas and Blitzen found this very funny. Ho, 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 Nicholas said as he gave the reindeer a carrot. Then he thought of something. Where can I get a telescope? How to be jolly even when times are bad. Number 1. Eat more gingerbread, chocolate, jam, and cake. Number 2. Say the word Christmas. Number 3. Give someone a present, like a toy or a book or a kind word or a big hug. Number 4. Laugh even if there is nothing to laugh about, especially then. Number 5. Think of a happy memory or a happy future. Number 6. Wear something red. Number 7. Believe. Extract from How to Be Jolly, the Father Christmas Guide to Happiness. Page 207. Father Christmas seeks the truth. The next day, Nicholas headed into the wooded hills with the present. Whenever he saw anyone he hadn't seen for a while, he took a present. There was nothing that made him feel better than the simple act of giving. And today, the present he was holding was a telescope that had been made by Picklewick, the elf who had once shouted at him when he was up on the tower roof. Picklewick still felt bad about that, no matter how many times Nicholas told him not to. Anyway, Father Topo had been right. There were no hilly plants growing on the hills anymore. There were still some rough patches of earth that hadn't been replanted, but elsewhere there were just cloudberries and plum trees. He walked until he reached the blue cottage with the thatched roof. It was very, very small. He knocked on the door and waited. Soon, a little long-haired, angel-faced pixie appeared. "Hello, Truth Pixie," he said. The creature smiled a wide pixie smile. "Hello, Nicholas," she said. "Or should I call you Father Christmas? Or should I say Santa Claus?" "Santa Claus?" said Nicholas. "What does that mean?" The pixie giggled. "Oh, it's just a name the pixies have for you. The literal translation is strange man with the big belly." "Charming!" He held out the telescope. "This is for you. I thought you might like it, especially as you have such good views around here." Nicholas felt a tingle of joy as he watched the Truth Pixie's eyes light up. "A magic viewing stick! How did you know I wanted one?" "Oh, just a guess." The pixie put her eye to the telescope and looked over at Elfhelm. Wow, everything is the same but bigger." And then she turned it around and made everything look smaller. Look at you, little Father Christmas, the pixie. Ho, ho, ho. Anyway, come in. Nicholas squeezed inside the tiny home into a yellow room full of pretty pixie plates hanging on the walls. He sat on a little wooden stool and had to keep his head bent low. The room was warm and smelled nice, sugar and cinnamon with maybe a faint tang of cheese. The pixie smiled. "What are you smiling about?" "I think I'm still a bit in love with you, after you saved my life that time." Her face was reddening. She didn't want to say this, but when you're a truth pixie, you can't help it. "I mean, I know it couldn't work out between us, a pixie and a human. You're far too tall, and your strange rounded ears would give me nightmares." She sighed, stared down at the yellow tiled floor. "I really wish I hadn't said that." "That's okay. I'm sure there are plenty of nice pixies out there." No, pixies are surprisingly dull. But the truth is, I like being on my own." Nicholas nodded. "Me too." There was a bit of an awkward silence. Not quite a silence. There was a little scrabbling, munching sound. A sound Nicholas recognized but couldn't work out from where. "I read about you in the Daily Snow all the time. You seem to be quite the celebrity." Yes." Nicholas looked through the tiny window at one of the nicest views of Elfhelm, with the giant mountain in the distance. He looked over at the disused tower. Then he saw a frail old mouse on the windowsill, nibbling on a stinky chunk of troll cheese. That was the sound he had heard. It couldn't be. But yes, it was. It was Mika. Mika, Mika, is that really you? Mika turned his head and looked at Nicholas for a moment. Mika, it's you! How wonderful! Actually, his name is Glump, said the truth pixie. I found him waiting in my house after I was released from the tower. He always likes the food I give him, especially the troll cheese. It's a bit better than turnip, huh? Nicholas asked the mouse softly. Cheese, said Mika. Cheese is real. I have cheese. As Nicholas looked at the mouse, he thought back to his childhood, over 10 years, in a whole country away. He thought of his father and his mother and Aunt Carlota. It was strange, seeing someone, even a mouse, who had shared the same room as him open the door to 100 memories. But Mika didn't seem emotional and kept nibbling his cheese. I don't understand, said the truth pixie. Nicholas was about to tell her that Mika was actually an old friend, but watching the rodent munching happily on the cheese, he decided to keep this information to himself. Mika was clearly contented in his woodland home. It doesn't matter. I hear you pixies aren't being violent anymore. Oh, said the truth pixie, we still love the idea of exploding heads, but you know what? After it happens, you feel very empty inside. And anyway, I've invented this. She went over to a drawer and took something out. It was a bright red kind of tube made out of thick paper. Hold that end and pull, she said, holding the other end. They pulled and there was a mighty bang. Mika dropped the cheese, then picked it up again in his tiny claws. The truth pixie squealed with delight. Don't you just love it? Wow, I wasn't expecting that. I'm calling them crackers. You can put little presents inside. And less to clean up than with an exploding troll head. Anyway, why are you here? I came to see you because I need to talk to someone who can be honest with me. I can talk to elves, but they're so busy being kind that they're not always so good at being truthful. But you are. The tiny creature nodded. Truth is what I do. Nicholas hesitated. He felt slightly embarrassed. He was so big and tall compared to a mouse and a pixie, yet the mouse and the pixie knew exactly who and what they were. They had found their places in the world. The thing is, I am human, sort of. But I have magical abilities too. I am Nicholas. But I am now also Father Christmas. I am very in between. But it's difficult. I'm told that I just need to work out what I want to do. The elves say I do good, but what good do I do? You set up Goodwill Day in honor of Mother Ivy. You've allowed speckle dancing. You've given all the elves more chocolate money. You opened the new elf nursery and the play park and the clock museum and turned the prison back into the welcome tower. Your books are still doing well. Not that I really like the elf help nonsense. You passed your sleigh crafts exam. You teach young elves how to fly sleighs. Everyone passes their sleigh craft exam. And yes, I do a bit of teaching, but I don't know if that's my destiny. The truth pixie tried to think. You saved little Kip 10 years ago. Yes, perhaps you are living on past glories. Just a little bit, said the truth pixie solemnly. But the elves do admire you. They have to. You are twice as big as them. I know they respect me, but they shouldn't. They need a purpose, a true purpose. I haven't given them that. The truth pixie thought about this and waited for the truth to come. This took a moment or two, 3 moments in fact. Then she had it. Sometimes, she said, her eyes shining, people look up to people not for who they have been, but for what they could become, for what they know they could be. They see in you something special. Mika had finished his cheese now and scuttled over to the end of the little table. He jumped onto Nicholas's lap. Oh, he likes you, said the truth pixie. That's rare. He's normally quite picky. Look, he's looking up to you, just like the elves do. I do like you, said Mika in his quiet mouse language, even though you're not a dairy product. Everyone looks up to you. As the truth pixie spoke, Nicholas felt something stir inside him. That warm, sweet feeling. The feeling of magic and hope and kindness that was the very best feeling in the world. It told him, once again, what he had known now for 10 years. Nothing was impossible. But even better than that, he now had a sense that he was in Elfham for a reason. He might never be able to be a true elf, but he was here now, and like everything in life, there was a purpose at work. You have the power to do good, and you know it. He did know he had the power to do good, and he would find a way to do it, a way to unite the Nicholas side of himself and the Father Christmas side. He would unite the human bits with the magical bits, and maybe one day he could change not just Elfhelm, but the lives of humans too. The Truth Pixie screwed up her nose. Her triangular little face was lost in thought. Then, from out of nowhere, she shouted a word into the air. Giving! What? Giving is what makes you happy. I saw your face when you gave me the viewing stick. It was still a big, strange human face, but it was so happy. Nicholas smiled and rubbed his chin. Giving. Yes, giving. Thank you, Truth Pixie. I owe you the whole world. The Truth Pixie smiled some more. This humble cottage and these wooded hills are enough for me. Then Mika crawled across Nicholas's knee and wanted down. So Nicholas held out his hand for the mouse to climb on and gently lowered him to the ground. Cheese is better than turnip, isn't it? Said Nicholas. It mostly certainly is, said Mika, and Nicholas seemed to understand. Nicholas got up from the tiny chair and crouched his way out of the tiny house. The Truth Pixie thought of something as Nicholas made his way down the hill toward Elfhelm. Oh, and you should grow a beard. It would really suit you.